Let's now just summarize the basic valid forms or patterns of inference that we're talking about. Direct reasoning. All philosophers are sexy. Socrates is a philosopher. Therefore, Socrates is sexy. All A's are B's. X is an A. Therefore, X is a B. On the if-then side, and by the way, there's a technical term that they have for direct reasoning. You don't have to remember it. Just want to, put it out there for you, so if you ever hear of it again, it kind of rings a bell. It's something called modus ponens. It's one of the most basic inferences that people think about. If Socrates is one of the most basic inferences with conditionals, with if-thens. If Socrates is a philosopher, then Socrates is sexy. First one's true. If Socrates is a philosopher, therefore Socrates is sexy. If P, then Q. P, therefore Q. I hope you're seeing the analogous kind of reasoning. Direct reasoning, you get the idea. It's the left to right reasoning with all or with if then. Then you have the indirect reasoning, the right to left reasoning. I hope I said left to right before. With the direct reasoning is from left to right the way you write. Indirect reasoning is going in the other direction. That is, all men are mortal. Then Zeus is not the second thing, mortal. Therefore, Zeus is not the first thing, is not a man. On the if-then side, that inference is called Latin name modus tollens, sometimes just referred to as MT. If Zeus is a man, then Zeus is mortal. Zeus is not, or the second statement is true, Zeus is not immortal. Therefore, the first statement in the conditional is also not true. Zeus is not a man. Okay, so it works the same way with all and with if-then, the indirect reasoning. And finally, there is chain reasoning. Typo there, it should say chain. All dogs are mammals. All mammals are animals. Therefore, all dogs are animals. Everything in the first category, in category A, is in category B. Everything that's in category let me start again. All things in category A are in category B. All things in category B are in category C. Therefore, all things in category A are in category C. And on the if-then case, the chain reasoning, something called hypothetical syllogism. A syllogism is just an inference with two premises and a conclusion, and syllogism became kind of famous because Aristotle was the first philosopher to start codifying logic, making a code out of it, and he would talk about all of the syllogisms. His two premises let you infer the third premise. So if Spot's a dog, then Spot's a mammal. If Spot's a mammal, then Spot's an animal. Therefore, if Spot's a dog, then Spot's an animal. If P, then Q. If Q, then R. Therefore, if P, then R. So notice, we just have to really understand three basic kinds of inferences and know that alls and if-thens work together. And we're going to be able to reconstruct arguments. And when we're reconstructing arguments, we'd like to try to make them valid, because in trying to analyze somebody's argument, we want to do our best job of reconstructing it. So, and I think we don't want to accuse the person of making a really dumb error in logic. So if we know these three inferences, which were really six inferences, right? Because three with all, three with if-then, we will be able to put them together. Now remember one thing before we leave on this. Arguments can have more than two premises. But when we're putting arguments together, what we're going to see for the most part is we're always going to take two premises and draw a conclusion. We're then going to use that conclusion as a premise with some other premise to draw yet another conclusion. These intermediate conclusions, these interim conclusions, are sometimes called intermediate conclusions. So now I think we have a pretty good idea of what inferences are valid. They're going to help us in reconstructing the arguments of the philosophers. And now the only thing I think we need to do is go through a few examples just to make sure we've got these basic concepts down. And with this, I think we can start looking at actual arguments in philosophical texts.